I always knew Karen from the HOA was bad news, but I never thought she'd go this far. First, she tried to tow my car, just because she didn't like the color. I walked outside and saw a tow truck already hooking it up, and there she was, arms crossed, smirking. "Bright colors are an eyesore," she said. Then she came for my house. The second I painted it blue, she stormed up, clipboard in hand. "This violates community standards," she snapped. "I'll make sure you pay for this." And she did. HOA notices, fines, threats. She turned my life into a nightmare. And when I wouldn't back down, she took me to court, all because she couldn't control me. And now, I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. Before I start, I want to ask for your help. This isn't just some crazy HOA drama, it's my personal nightmare. And I want the whole world to hear what happened. To make that happen, please hit the like button and subscribe. These two simple actions help spread my story far and wide. And while you're at it, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see this community grow. Mornings are supposed to be quiet, peaceful. Not in my neighborhood, not when Karen from the HOA is on a mission to ruin my life. I stepped outside that morning, still half asleep, stretching my arms when I heard it, the deep rumble of a truck's engine. I frowned. That wasn't normal. Then I saw it, a tow truck, in my driveway, and it was already hooking up my brand new car. For a second, my brain refused to process what was happening. The shiny, bright yellow paint gleamed in the sunlight as the metal hook clamped onto the front wheels. Then I spotted her, standing off to the side, clipboard in hand, that smug little smirk on her face, Karen. My heart slammed against my ribs as I stormed forward. "Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" The tow truck driver flinched, but Karen? She didn't even blink. She turned to me slowly, lifting her chin like a queen addressing a peasant. "Good morning," she said, her voice sickly sweet. "Your vehicle is in violation of HOA regulations. It's being removed." I let out a sharp laugh. "Violation? For what? Parking in my own damn driveway?" She sighed dramatically, flipping through her stupid clipboard. "Section 4.2 of the HOA guidelines. All vehicles must blend with the natural aesthetics of the community." She looked up, raising an eyebrow. "Bright colors are not permitted." I stared at her, trying to process the absolute insanity of what I was hearing. "You're towing my car because of its color?" She nodded, completely unfazed. "It's disruptive," she said, waving a hand at it like it was some disgusting piece of trash. "It doesn't match the neutral tones of the neighborhood. It's an eyesore." I clenched my jaw. "Karen, this is my driveway, my property, my car. You don't get to decide what color it is." She smirked. "Actually, I do. As a member of the HOA board, it's my job to enforce community standards." My fists tightened. "That's not a real rule." She clicked her tongue, feigning disappointment. "Oh, but it is." I turned to the tow truck driver, who was awkwardly standing there waiting for the go-ahead. "Did she show you any official documents for this?" The guy hesitated. She said she's with the HOA. "Yeah, well, I live here," I snapped, "and I never agreed to any of this." Karen scoffed, flipping through her pages again. "Homeowners don't get to agree to the rules, they follow them." I stepped closer, voice low and firm. "Show me the exact rule that says I can't have a yellow car." Her smirk faltered just for a second. She flipped another page, then another, but I could already tell she had nothing. Still, she wasn't about to admit it. "I don't have time for this," she snapped, yanking out her phone. "I'll call another board member to confirm." I crossed my arms. "Good, do it." A few minutes later, another car pulled up, a sleek sedan. The door opened and the HOA rep stepped out. And I swear to God, his car was bright freaking yellow, exactly like mine. I turned back to Karen, barely holding back my grin. "So, does his car ruin the neighborhood too?" Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. The HOA rep frowned, glancing down at her clipboard. "Karen, what is this?" She straightened. "It's a violation report. His car doesn't meet the HOA's standards." The guy ran a hand down his face. "Karen, we don't have a rule against car colors." Silence. For the first time, Karen had nothing to say. The tow truck driver sighed, unhooking my car. Karen's face twisted in fury, her fingers digging into that clipboard like she wanted to snap it in half. But she wasn't done. I could see it in her eyes, the way she was glaring at me, the way her lips pressed into a thin line, nostrils flaring like she was barely holding back another outburst. I knew her type. She wasn't the kind of person who took no for an answer. She'd lost this battle. But the war, it was just beginning. As the tow truck pulled away, Karen lingered. She didn't leave right away. She just stood there watching me, like a predator studying its prey. Then, without another word, she turned on her heel and marched off, disappearing down the street. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair, trying to shake off the tension. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. It had been a week since the tow truck incident, a full week of silence from Karen. No nasty notes taped to my door, no HOA violation warnings shoved in my mailbox. Nothing. I should have known it was the calm before the storm. After what she'd pulled with my car, I knew Karen wouldn't just back down. But honestly, I didn't care. I was done tiptoeing around her ridiculous rules. So I did something that, in any normal neighborhood, wouldn't have been a big deal. I painted my house a fresh, deep blue, a color that made my home stand out, made it feel like mine. It took me days to find the perfect shade. I wanted something bold, something vibrant, something that wasn't just another bland beige box in a sea of HOA-mandated neutral tones. The second the first coat went up, I knew I made the right choice. It looked amazing, at least to me. To Karen, it was a personal attack. I was about halfway through when I heard it. The sound I dreaded most, the sharp, clipped footsteps of Karen marching up my driveway. I sighed, not even turning around as I dipped my roller into the tray. "Morning, Karen." "What do you think you're doing?" Her voice was tight, already on the edge of snapping. I kept painting. "What does it look like?" "I'm painting my house." "You can't do that." I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Karen, I own this house." She stomped closer, clipboard already clutched in her bony hands. "That color is unacceptable." Now I turned. I met her glare head on, roller still in hand. "Says who?" she scoffed. "Says the HOA, Section 3.1, homes must maintain a neutral earth tone aesthetic to preserve community uniformity." She jabbed a finger at my house. "This is not neutral." I raised an eyebrow. "You really have rules about paint colors?" She folded her arms, looking way too pleased with herself. "Of course. And this shade of blue? Completely inappropriate." I wiped some stray paint off my hand, shaking my head. "I didn't sign up for your rules, Karen. I bought this house. I can paint it whatever color I damn well please." Her lips twitched in frustration. "That's not how it works. You live in an HOA-governed neighborhood. You agreed to follow the guidelines when you moved in." I crossed my arms. "Show me where I signed anything agreeing to that." Karen blinked. She wasn't expecting that. I took a step forward. "Show me, Karen. Show me the document with my signature that says I agreed to your neutral colors rule." Her fingers tightened on her clipboard. She had nothing. Again. But Karen being Karen, that didn't stop her. She squared her shoulders, lifting her chin. "If you don't comply, you will be fined." I laughed. "Good luck with that." Her jaw clenched. "And if you still refuse, the HOA will escalate this legally." Now I was pissed. I dropped the roller back into the tray with a loud splat. "Let me get this straight. You're threatening me with legal action because I painted my house blue?" She didn't even flinch. "Rules are rules." I let out a humorless chuckle, running a hand down my face. "Karen, do you even hear yourself?" She just stood there, smug as ever. She was serious, dead serious. I exhaled sharply. "Fine, take me to court." Karen's expression flickered, just for a second, like she wasn't expecting me to call her bluff. But then, just like that, she recovered. Her smirk came back. "You'll regret this." And with that, she turned on her heel and stormed off. I watched her go, my blood still boiling. She was really going to take this that far. Over a damn color? Fine, let her try. But this time, I was ready for war. The next morning, I woke up to find an official HOA violation notice taped to my front door. "Immediate action required, unapproved house color." I crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash. By noon, I had 3 more in my mailbox. By evening, an entire stack of warnings had been stuffed into my mail slot. Karen was playing dirty. That night, as I was taking out the garbage, my neighbor, Mr. Thompson, a quiet, retired guy who mostly kept to himself, waved me over. "Hey, son," he muttered, glancing around like he didn't want anyone to overhear. "You sure you want to go up against Karen?" I smirked. "Oh, I'm sure." He sighed, shaking his head. "She's not going to stop, you know. She's done this before." That caught my attention. "Before?" He nodded. "Couple years back, old man Jenkins painted his garage door red. She made his life hell until he caved and repainted it beige." I frowned. "That's insane." Mr. Thompson gave me a knowing look. "That's Karen." I crossed my arms. "Well, I'm not old man Jenkins." He chuckled. "Guess we'll see." As I walked back inside, a strange feeling settled in my gut. Karen had done this before, which meant she wasn't just messing with me. She knew exactly what she was doing. And if she had pushed other homeowners into submission, what was she planning for me? I wasn't stupid. I knew Karen wouldn't stop just because I ignored her threats. The HOA warnings kept piling up, stuffed into my mailbox, taped to my door, even shoved under my windshield wipers. Every single one with the same message: immediate action required, unapproved house color. But I wasn't backing down. So Karen did what Karen does best. She escalated. It happened in the dead of night. I woke up to a loud thud outside, something heavy hitting my front wall. At first, I thought it was just some raccoons knocking over the trash cans again. But when I stepped outside the next morning, my stomach dropped. There was paint everywhere. Thick, ugly beige paint splattered across my freshly painted blue walls. It dripped down like someone had just thrown an entire bucket of it straight at my house. The contrast between the deep blue and the sickly, muddy beige made my skin crawl. And right there, taped to my front door, was a note. In neat, precise handwriting, it read, "This is the standard HOA color. You're welcome." My fists clenched so hard I thought I'd crush the damn paper. Karen! I knew it was her. Who else would go this far? Who else would be so insane about paint colors that they'd sneak onto my property in the middle of the night and vandalize my house? I spun around, scanning the street. It was early, too early for most of my neighbors to be out. Everything looked normal, too normal, like nothing had happened, like nobody saw a damn thing. I stormed back inside and grabbed my phone, my pulse hammering. I was done playing nice. I was calling the cops. 20 minutes later, the officer took one look at my house and let out a low whistle. "Damn," he muttered. "Someone really didn't like your paint job." "Yeah, no kidding," I snapped, shoving the note into his hands. "This was left on my door." He frowned as he read it. "You got cameras?" I exhaled sharply. "Not yet. I was actually planning to install some next week." His expression darkened. "Who do you think did it?" I didn't hesitate. "Karen Whitmore, HOA board member. She's been harassing me for weeks over my house color." The officer jotted something down. "Any proof?" I gestured wildly at my house. "You're looking at it. Who else would do something like this?" He sighed. "Look, I get it, but unless someone saw her do it or you've got video footage, there's not much we can do." I gritted my teeth. "So she just gets away with it?" He shook his head. "Not necessarily. You can file a report. If this kind of thing happens again, at least there'll be a record of it." I scoffed. "Great. A report. That'll stop her." He gave me a sympathetic look. "I'd also suggest getting those cameras installed sooner rather than later." Later that afternoon, I stood on my front lawn staring at the mess. I should have been furious, and I was. But more than that, I was determined. Karen thought this would make me cave, that I'd see my house covered in her approved color and finally fall in line. She had no idea who she was dealing with. So I did the only thing I could. I grabbed my paint roller and started repainting, right there, in broad daylight, for the whole neighborhood to see. And this time, I made the blue even brighter, because if Karen wanted a fight, she damn well had one. Karen had crossed every line imaginable. First, she tried to tow my car. Then she tried to fine me for painting my house. When threats didn't work, she vandalized my home in the dead of night. And when that still didn't make me back down, she took me to court. I wasn't surprised. Karen wasn't the type to lose, or rather, she wasn't the type to accept that she'd lost. She had spent years bullying homeowners into submission, using the HOA as her personal weapon. But this time, She picked the wrong guy to mess with. The courthouse was small, but the tension in the air felt massive. Karen sat across from me, her perfectly ironed suit a little too crisp, her fake pearl necklace sitting stiffly against her collarbone. She looked confident, smug even, like she had already won. I, on the other hand, was trying not to grind my teeth into dust. My lawyer, Sam Parker, leaned over and whispered, "Relax. Let her dig her own grave." I wasn't so sure about that. Karen was a master manipulator. She could twist anything to make herself sound like the victim. And sure enough, when the judge called our case, she turned on the performance of a lifetime. Karen stood, smoothing down her blazer, and cleared her throat dramatically. "Your Honor, this case is about maintaining order, about ensuring that our community remains a safe, beautiful place for all residents." She shot me a cold smile before continuing. "The defendant," she refused to say my name, "has repeatedly violated HOA regulations, first with his vehicle, which did not comply with our community's guidelines." The judge raised an eyebrow. I was under the impression there was no such rule regarding car colors. Karen's expression faltered for half a second before she recovered like a pro. "That is a matter of interpretation, Your Honor. Our community has always adhered to a neutral aesthetic, and the defendant's refusal to comply shows a blatant disregard for the standards we uphold." I clenched my jaw. She was spinning complete nonsense, but she wasn't done. And then, despite multiple notices and direct warnings, the defendant proceeded to paint his house in an unauthorized color, a color that stands out in an otherwise harmonious neighborhood, disrupting the carefully curated aesthetic we work so hard to maintain. She sighed dramatically, shaking her head. "We gave him every opportunity to correct his mistakes. We even offered to help cover the cost of repainting in the interest of maintaining community unity. But he refused. Instead, he openly defied us, mocking our rules and encouraging other residents to do the same." The judge frowned. "Encouraging?" Karen nodded far too eagerly. "Yes, Your Honor, he was seen repainting his house in an even brighter shade after receiving our notices. A clear act of defiance." I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. "Yeah, I did repaint it, but not out of defiance, out of revenge." When Karen was finally done with her monologue, the judge turned to me. "Mr. Carter, do you have a response to these allegations?" I stood up, took a deep breath, and kept my voice calm. "Your Honor, let's set the record straight. First, my car. There was never a written rule about vehicle colors. Karen tried to tow my car based on a community standard that doesn't exist, and when that didn't work, she moved on to my house." The judge nodded. "Go on." I pulled out a thick stack of printed HOA regulations, the same ones Karen had conveniently misinterpreted. "Here are the official HOA guidelines. Nowhere in this document does it state that homeowners are required to adhere to neutral colors or any specific paint restrictions." I handed a copy to the judge. He skimmed through it, then looked at Karen. "Is this accurate?" Karen visibly stiffened. "Well, the rules have always been understood a certain way." The judge's expression didn't change. "Understood? Or written?" She hesitated. "It's an unspoken rule." The judge leaned forward. "I don't deal in unspoken rules, Miss Whitmore." Boom! Karen's face turned a shade of red I didn't think was humanly possible. I wasn't done. "And, Your Honor, I have one more thing to present." I reached into my folder and pulled out the police report. 3 nights ago, my house was vandalized. Someone threw a bucket of beige paint all over my freshly painted walls, and they left a note that said, "This is the standard HOA color. You're welcome." The judge's eyes widened. Karen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "Are you accusing the HOA of this act, Mr. Carter?" the judge asked. I turned to Karen, meeting her eyes. "I'm accusing Karen Whitmore. She made it clear she hated my house color. She tried everything to make me change it. And when I didn't, my home was mysteriously vandalized with the exact shade of paint she wanted me to use." I slid the police report across the table. "I filed this the morning after. No security cameras caught her, but let's be real. Who else would do this?" The judge looked at Karen. "Miss Whitmore, do you have a response to these allegations?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time since I met her, Karen had nothing to say. The judge exhaled sharply. It's clear to me that the HOA overstepped its authority. Mr. Carter has broken no official rules. The actions taken against him were excessive and unfounded. He glanced back at Karen. Furthermore, while I cannot determine who vandalized Mr. Carter's home, I find it deeply concerning that an HOA board member would take such a personal interest in a homeowner's paint choices. Karen looked like she wanted to sink through the floor. The HOA's claim is dismissed. Mr. Carter is fully within his rights to keep his home as it is. Bang! The judge slammed his gavel. Case closed. Karen stormed out of the courtroom without looking at me. As I stepped outside, Sam patted me on the back. Told you she'd dig her own grave. I smirked. Yeah, and she did it beautifully. I walked back to my bright blue house that night, knowing one thing for sure. Karen had lost, and I had won. If you think Karen got exactly what she deserved, please like and share this story. The more people who hear about it, the better. And don't forget to subscribe because, trust me, there are plenty more HOA nightmares to expose.